In this video, we're going to explore why dividing by 0 is undefined. But first, what we need to do is familiarize ourselves with the definition of division. So, the definition of division states that if A divided by B equals C, and C is unique, then B times C equals A. So, let's do something, divide two numbers that we all know. So let's say that 6 divided by 2 equals 3. We can all agree with that. And notice, we can say that C is unique. 3 is unique because we know that 3 is the only number that equals 6 divided by 2. So we can also figure out what the second part means, is that if we multiply our B times C, then we should get A. So our B is 2 times C, which is 3, equals A, which is our 6. So both of these are satisfied. So that means that 6 divided by 2 does equal 3, and we can also say that this is defined because it satisfies the whole definition of division. Now, likewise, if it only satisfies one part of the definition, it would mean that it's undefined. So let's look at examples with 0 in them and see what happens to them. So let me clear this, and let's start with 0 divided by 1. I'm going to say that this equals 0 because 1 times 0 equals 0. So it satisfies this second part of the equation, or the definition. And this first part, if you were to plug in, say, a 1, a 2, or any other number, then it wouldn't equal that. So we can actually say that C is unique. So it satisfies that this is actually the only number that you could put there to actually equal 0. So we can say that 0 divided by 1 equals 0, and we can also say that this is defined as well. Okay, so our next example is going to be 1 divided by 0. And a lot of people like to guess that it would be 0. So let's try that out. So we take our B, which is 0, multiply it by our C, which is 0, and we don't get what A is, because of course 0 times 0 does not equal 1. So it doesn't satisfy this part of the equation. Since it doesn't satisfy at least one part of that definition, then that means that it's considered undefined. Okay, so this does not work, and that means that it's going to be undefined. So now for our next example, sometimes we come across this idea to where we actually have 0 divided by 0. Well, I think all of us can agree that we can obviously put in a 0 there and the second part of it be defined, because we've got 0, which is our B, times 0, which is our C. That does equal our A, which is 0. So this part works. Well, we can also put in a 5 if we wanted to, because 0 times 5 equals 0. So it still works for that second part. We can actually plug in anything in there. We can say 0 over 0 equals x. We still have 0 times x equals 0. But what I'm getting at is that it's the first part that's not being satisfied. Because what happens is that if we can say that it's 0, 5, or basically any number, then that means that that C is not unique. So in this scenario, the first part doesn't work. So that means that this is going to be undefined. 0 divided by 0 is undefined. So let's label it as that. So make sure that when you're faced with something like of this nature, where you're dividing by 0, make sure that you don't put an actual number down or a variable down. Just say that it equals undefined. So, in summary with all of this, we can say that 0 over 1 equals 0. We can say that 0 over 0 equals undefined. And of course, last but not least, that we're a lot of times faced with is 1 divided by 0, which is still undefined.